I know.
Right? Let's keep that up.
Let's keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Week 7, we've got everything's great. Well,
Is it all bad in week 8?
No.
in week 8.
Or
Oh,
week
weeks.
7?
Week
Yeah.
7.
Oh, I was gonna say
this is week 5.
this is like a good one, right?
Yeah.
This is a good one. This is where
Temple
the
happiness.
temple is finished and God comes and fills the temple with a cloud.
I was just saying, I wish I would have paid more attention because we could have talked about
Leviticus.
in here, and it would have been awesome.
Maybe you should just read it. This is a moment. Oh, sorry.
We're actually gonna do a Leviticus series in about 2 years.
We're gonna do it again.
No, we're actually gonna do it.
We're actually gonna. Are you saying when we
We
did
did a
do it?
Leviticus preview.
You guys failed
Oh.
horrifically.
We did a
failed.
Leviticus preview.
I was disappointed.
Now
Oh man! Wow, that was harsh. That was a hard season. Also,
I gotta finish my.
I don't remember most of it.
wait. So that was
plan for Revelations,
he
and then I
he
can do
was
Leviticus.
disappointed in us while you were building out Northeast a whole coffee shop,
Oh,
and we were both brand new, and he was on sabbatical.
I just think we picked the wrong time.
We definitely picked the wrong time. But disappointed in us. We were.
No, we were
drowning.
directing series.
Oh
But
man,
it was the series.
You're
it
more
was a
generous.
serious.
I'm
Man,
trying to make great of that.
Yeah.
Leviticus is the Bible.
I
Our hot take of the day.
that is a hot take of the day because
You
I've
have
never-
more in your life.
never thought through it without
That's all it
somebody.
is. I just have hot takes.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay, so today
Are you gonna try to keep us on task?
I feel a little baby.
Yeah, how do you feel?
I feel a little discombobulated. So if I'm not on task,
I
it's
do.
gonna get
You
worse.
say that often.
I think lately I
Is that your
haven't.
normal?
Since maybe
What
November.
What is it?
What is
Have you ever-
Sort of discombobulated, but I feel a little extra.
Why is that a real word?
Yeah, it is.
Discombobulated.
Combobulated.
Oh, I like combobulated.
Organized, composed, arranged.
Why did
Well,
why
yeah,
did
I
the
probably
inverse
never
of
felt
it
that.
become popular while combobulated is never used?
I think we should,
That is, I don't know. Discombobulated is a good word. I like that I said I was gonna keep us on task and you were intentionally trying to take us down. I don't even know.
She wants us to be recombobulated,
Recombobulated?
put things back in order.
She needs a recombobulator.
I need a recombobulator.
Recombobulation.
Yeah.
Recombobulation.
Is Mike your
That is-
recombobulator?
Yes, but he feels probably, that could be painful. He might be a little, well, he also might be a little discombobulated, so it's kind of, internally, his brain is probably a little more discombobulated, because he's got so much going on.
He's got internal discombobulation.
Yeah, external, and internal, so,
Oh,
yeah, it's bad for me, but externally, he looks combobulated. Internally, he's discombobulated.
Isn't there like a scientific theory about how everything is moving towards chaos?
I do that well.
Yeah.
I do that well.
It's discombobulation theory is.
Are you the most combobulated of us all?
Rich is pretty combobulated.
You're pretty combobulated.
I would say I'm more
Internal.
combobulated than Rich.
I would say that, but only because maybe you also present yourself as fully combobulated.
Greg's
I get that.
discombobulation makes it to paper.
Oh,
Makes it to
yeah,
lists and things. And
Yeah.
my combobulation just kind of lives here.
yeah. Well, that's not bad. That's a good thing.
Yeah. This
My entry is lists.
craziness of this month, and then Kelsey's doing this running thing.
Yeah.
You quickly find what are the things that get left behind,
Mhm.
and like the house.
The
Is
house.
that
Ooh.
I feel that.
it's just
We had a friend come over on Sunday, and with an hour and a half notice, I was like, all right, guys, we gotta get this together. And it was amazing what our house was like an hour and a half before. I was like, we did it. I didn't think we would. And it was at least presentable because it has been chaotic. On Monday, I thought it was Friday. Like, I'm a
What day is
little,
it today?
I know it's Thursday,
Oh.
but I also
I thought it was
I
Friday.
haven't confessed this
I
yet,
thought
but
it was Friday.
I only got enough announcement cards printed for Gorman because Uptown's the furthest, and I was like, I will get everybody else's done and delivered because I realized this morning that I did not ask Julie to edit or do anything, and I was like, oh, yes, it's Thursday. I am discombobulated. I don't know what day it
Ready
is.
for this pivot?
Yeah.
Boy, here
Now,
comes-
see,
here comes-
this
here
is,
comes-
let's just wait there.
Absolutely.
When I try to keep us on task, when I say it's time to go, everybody continues to do whatever. But Greg, he can pull it off. And we all follow.
Greg is Greg is the lodestone.
He's the little
He's
son.
combobulated.
Oh.
1 Kings 8,
Whoa!
the temple was combobulated.
It was, it was discombobulated, and then it was fully combobulated.
And later,
Yeah,
later,
discombobulated.
discombobulated.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
rediscombobulated?
Yes.
Rediscombobulated. And
This is the secret.
combobulated within each of us.
And then it combobulates within us.
I appreciate this was the fun. I appreciated that.
Ready for the pivot? That's good.
That was good. Okay, so the temple is finished, right?
I just switched over to the document and the title that we have on here is just Turn Toward God. And I was like, is that what we're talking about in the chapter, or is that God telling us, guys, it's podcast time?
It's fine. Get it together, Rich.
Combobulate.
Oh, okay, so the temple is finished. The Ark of the Covenant's been brought in. The stones are there. The
Yes.
Moses' tablets. I was
Stones-
saying,
the stones
tablets.
are there.
Sorry, the tablets are there.
There's art there?
The Ark is there. The priests are there, but they have to leave because they can't do what they want to do because God's glory is so strong.
It's when they
And
start
so-
tying the rope around their ankle.
Maybe, don't they start that earlier?
I think it's the time.
Yeah, yeah. So they had to leave, and then this dark cloud came in. God's presence was in the cloud, and it filled the temple, and they had to go.
This is the one they sing the worship songs about.
The temple, the dark cloud.
And God's presence.
Yeah.
We want you to
Are
fill
there-
this place.
Is he in the? Yeah, all the things.
It's weird that those songs are so stuck in the Old Testament.
That is weird.
I
I
biggest pet peeve of worship music to me is when they're talking about God's presence coming and filling the place, and I hate it.
Okay, so then when okay, why do you hate it? Yeah, tell us about that.
For our listeners.
Because it's like if I was like, Rachel, you should come inside this room. You're like, I'm here,
here.
you idiots.
I'm here, you idiots.
I'm just short, you can't see me.
I know. Everyone looks over my head. It's so sad. I'm so sure you can't see me.
I did this
Short presence. Okay, this is interesting because I've been thinking about this too. Because we've had this conversation before, and I think that people are wanting like a manifestation where they feel God's presence.
Yeah.
And I think like, is that different? Feeling like experiencing and feeling God's presence versus God's presence always being there?
If that's somebody that can feel things.
I would
yeah.
say.
I'll ask Rich.
I can feel things now. I have talked about this with many staff at camp, and
Yeah.
and the thing that I think in the moments that we are trying to feel God's presence,
Mhm.
our tendency is to think that God's not there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the
Well, that's
feeling
good.
of the connection is
Yeah.
good. Like you can
Yeah.
feel it and go, oh, this was a God thing, and like have
Yeah.
that, and each person has
Yeah.
that differently. But the thing that we fail on is that God's presence is fact, not feeling. So it's like God is there, and if you like have a moment of like that's great, but don't think that God's not there. You don't.
Feel
him
him.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that experience. That's
an awareness
interesting.
issue.
Yeah. Is it an awareness issue or is it because there is like a, go ahead.
I would say
Very
it's an awareness issue of us. Like
Yeah.
we are not present.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that God's not present. Like I agree with that. But I do feel like there's, I mean, this could be my Assemblies of God background speaking, which we all know.
Should have bought a Honda.
Should have bought Hyundai. Oh dear. But like, is there any value in the moment to say, I know God's here and I may not always feel it, even though I'm aware that God's presence is here, but there are moments where we go, I am actually experiencing feeling God's presence here.
Well, think of a relationship with somebody. You can be in the same room but not
Not have a,
have a connection.
yeah,
And it's not that that's a bad thing necessarily. Like
yeah.
you and Mike can be in a room watching a TV
Sometimes
show,
we have to get some work done,
and that's
you know?
fine. But other times you're very aware of
Yeah,
his presence in a
connected.
different way. And
Yeah,
I think
that's good.
it's this. It's not like he changed.
No, yeah,
It's how you perceive him in that moment.
I like
It's the
that.
same if like, you know, if a friend is in a coffee shop and they're on the other side of the coffee shop, or they're in a deep personal, there's still presence is still there.
Yeah.
That's the same.
That's good.
I will take it one step deeper than that.
Oh, boy.
At,
Well,
at micro church
Yeah.
training, right? I knew Scott's heart on things. I knew your heart on things. We've talked about all this stuff.
Yeah,
But in the moments that you guys were sharing and made me feel tough, that moment was the I'm inward feeling
Yeah.
this thing that I know,
yeah,
but now I'm having there's an actual connection feel on it.
yeah,
And so my issue with
I like
this,
that, yeah.
worship song is speaking like that. It would be more theologically sound and truthful for me if it was, God help me see where you're, or help me
Yeah.
understand. Help me,
experience your
I'm not
presence.
feeling it right now, and
Yeah.
help me
Yeah.
feel what you're doing.
Yeah, the help me songs and the thank you, the other side of the thank you that your ear sounds,
Yeah,
I think are more theologically sound than okay, we're gonna do this thing so God can be here.
I like that.
I feel actually for us, the whole is broken. It's just like we've pop Christianity has defined or boxed in worship to the songs that happen at the start, usually the start of a service or the end of a service.
Mhm.
And then when we sit down, we flip on our rational brain, and in our rational brain, we're no longer worshiping.
Yeah,
But and Aquinas obviously has a leg up on this, but the conversations that we have at Corner are for themselves worship.
we're all tired. You agree.
And so that's a big thing. But on the question of presence, just because I know we spend a lot of time about the manufacturing of presence. When's the last time that you guys have felt God's presence? Like, is there what's the last one that you're like, I know that God's here in this? And maybe it was micro training, but
That definitely was.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the habit, the idea, the mindset shift of God's presence being a fact, helps me to see Him working more than just being like, well, it's not like it's not that. So I it's hard to put a finger on the same things. This weekend definitely was fun. But looking back, it's like I can just go, oh, God was in that. You can,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
No, there was like a good conversation Anna and I had on Tuesday morning. I came in and she was processing through something and I was processing through the same thing. And we didn't really know that. And like I brought up that, what I was feeling about something and she was like, oh, well, I was writing about that as we speak. And like that felt like a Jesus moment for us to have that conversation and kind of process through it together. And she had some really great things to say and hopefully in us talking about it, it was good for both of us. But I felt like I was like, oh, this feels like an internal, an obvious moment that Jesus is working something out in both of us at the same time, and we needed to process through it. Like Gorman ended up praying by himself because we were having that conversation for a while.
But I did.
And he prayed out loud too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I love
by
it.
himself.
I love it.
But
It's the as it turns out.
yeah.
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 I mean, this whole conversation is so core to 1 Kings 8 because it's this moment.
Mhm.
The temples were built. Solomon's, as the king is trying to reorient people towards God, turning towards God, and
Yeah.
not about timing necessarily, but inviting people to adjust direction.
Mhm.
We see the arc of going. From the burning bush moment, then Mount Sinai, then the tabernacle,
Mhm.
temple, Jesus' crucifixion and her being torn,
Yep.
and ultimately the kind of house is this picture of opportunities or moments where people reorient. Same thing that Solomon's inviting people to. So like that's the part of the reason I love Leviticus so much is it's such a, to me, it's such a clear picture of God's invitation to real people to reorient.
Yeah.
It's this really weird historical narrative of a very specific moment, very specific people trying desperately to understand how to have a relationship with God. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's really the building of the temple here in 1 Kings 8 is the continuation of that story.
I like it. I like that you, whenever I read Leviticus, I have to like really spend time in it. Like every verse, I feel like I have to like actually like understand it. Because if I just read it, I'm like, this means nothing to me. And I will fall asleep every time. I remember trying to read through the whole Bible, and Leviticus, like every time I'd fall asleep, I think Leviticus took me a year just because I would fall asleep, or I should have just gone back to it. But instead I was like, I'm gonna read
It's not
it.
an easy read, but
No.
it's a very, if it's like the basis for like a conversation or understanding
Yeah.
who God is, I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would ever, it's one of my favorite books, but I don't know if I'd ever tell people, you should just go read it.
Yeah. It's not like that first book when they're like, you should read John, you know?
I just
Like,
think Leviticus is one of those books that reading without external processing
Yeah.
may not be actually very helpful.
no, it's not. It's not at all. I mean, I didn't feel like it was.
Which I also have been prepping a series idea on Revelation, and
Yeah.
I also think that that is the same thing of like,
Yeah.
reading that in isolation is not helpful. But every church I've ever been a part of is scared to touch it. So I think that's interesting.
Me too.
I want to be careful on how I say this because I love Jesus.
Because
Sorry, Jesus.
And I guess I'm in that camp of I actually like Paul. But we major in these sections of scripture that are the top of a tower.
Yeah.
And we miss out on the parts that are foundational to understanding everything that Jesus does and everything that Paul instructs the communities on. And even like the later half of the Old Testament, even what we're going to see in Kings, and especially later in Kings, there's a one-to-one to how God responds to what the nation of Israel and Judah do to what happens in Leviticus. Like there's nothing that should be surprising to the people of Israel as consequences, because it's laid out pretty clearly when you understand Leviticus. And then even like, man, I've been rolling this around in my head because North Central, they have chapel, which is like a mini church service every weekday. And sometimes they ask staff and faculty. In my head, I just have in the back of my head like a message ready to go in case they ever actually ask me. And the idea is that the beginning is in the end and the end is in the beginning. But basically, like, our understanding of Revelation and the end influences our understanding of Genesis, which influences the way that everything else in between happens as believers. And so, yeah, it's just when Leviticus is a good book to dive into to get a better understanding of the whole scope of Scripture.
Yeah, the historical foundation is so important. I actually think like if you want to understand modern church, as I've been reading Revelation, is that it's such a clear picture of a moment in time of people that were experiencing horrific things and their cries and hopes for something better. That's like literally what Revelation is. And so that helps inform how the church functions today and a lot of the places that we miss it when understanding it. But yeah. So first king, these people was Solomon, and the people were celebrating a physical representation of God with them. God's presence. I don't know how I think about it all, but it's like it functioned differently than it does
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. But it also, there's a
I don't
beautiful
really
part,
know.
like in later in the chapter, there's a part where Solomon prays, and his prayer is, he talks about God being faithful and being with them, and his covenant of love with his servants, and he promised David that his successors would be kings, and also eventually lead to the Messiah. But also in verse 27 it says, "But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heavens, cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built," which I thought was really cool, because we talk about like God's presence being in the temple in the Old Testament. But then it's like, I mean, yes, that is where the presence is, but also like they also see there's no way that this can fully contain you. Like you can't just be contained in this temple. I just like this idea of like, he is bigger than this, no matter what our understanding is, going, okay, but God is also, he's bigger than what they saw him as.
Another moment in scripture that we're not talking about this week is in Exodus, when they just left Egypt. They're at the base of the mountain, and God calls the people to the mountain, and this is an invitation to the whole people of Israel. And then when God shows up in his presence in a tangible, powerful way, in storm and
Thunder and lightning and a thick cloud over the mountain and a
All-
very loud trumpet blast.
no,
We are talking about that.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Exodus.
Yeah. Exodus 19.
Well, all the people are.
Cool.
I skimmed. I didn't see
You're
that.
all right. Keep going.
All the people are terrified by this, and so they say to Moses, "You go up for us."
Mhm.
And that's just such a crazy moment, because God's intent, even then, was for the whole people, and not just representatives and not just individuals to experience his presence and be a part of the receiving of what the community of God was supposed to look like.
So how does the transition in the message goes from, this is, 1 Kings 8, Solomon and the people celebrating the temple of God's presence. How does that impact them? What are they praying for? What are they hoping for? What is that influence? And then we talk about Jesus, temple torn, God's presence available to all. So knowing that God lives with us, not just near us, not just in that temple, not just in the church building down the street. How does that shape how we experience life, and I would even say experience relationship with the people around us?
Say that again, just a little bit.
So knowing that God's presence is actually in us, in people, working in people, not just in the church building down the street or the temple in the Old Testament. How does knowing that reality, how does that impact the way that we see others, the way that we see ourselves even?
I think it almost, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier with, talking about worship, and that is, the songs that happen on Sunday morning. But if you look at Romans 12:1-2, it says, everything you do is worship.
Yeah.
And if you're cognizant of God being present everywhere, it's almost, to take it to a not helpful place, God's watching, but the idea is that to think of, everything I do, every interaction I have with every person I deal with is an act of worship. And it's not whether we're worshiping, but what we're worshiping. So we're showing worship to something. If it's not God, it's to something else.
That's frustrating. Can't I just be neutral?
Something I talked to a few people about at our micro training is it was just a question, like, do you like people, and how do you feel about people? And it was fun because a lot of people struggle with people. We have a whole sticker about it, and that's why we do what we do. And when we forget about like bringing God's presence with us, or I don't know, like we said, God's presence is with us.
Acknowledging.
Acknowledging God's presence or letting it change us, impact us. Like I feel like when we're doing the work of working with people, whether at church or at work, at jobs, wherever, but we forget to acknowledge God's presence and let it change us. Like it's really easy to find people frustrating. I mean, even when we do that, I think it's easy to find people frustrating. So it's like, how do we let it change us and how we work in relationship with people? How do I go, okay, like that person makes me a little nuts. How am I going to love them as God called me to love them? And, that silly commandment to love our neighbors as ourselves. And how do we bring that in? But also, how do we ask for help in that? Because I do think there is a part of me that's like, man, I don't think I can do this on my own. People do frustrate me sometimes. I need to grow in this, but also help me do that better.
Yeah, something I've been thinking about a lot is that why would you invest into a relationship or a business or an organization or anything if you don't actually have hope for it? Like,
Yeah.
if I think you're a terrible person, I'm not gonna approach you in a very healthy way. And so I think like before we even like do the work of helping those around us, maybe we should start with actually valuing those around us.
Yeah. It does change how you view them when you value them.
Yeah, why it just doesn't make sense. If you think somebody's not a good person, if you think a business is a bad business or a bad idea, you're not going to invest your time or effort or attention to those things. And so our perception of those around us, of those things, actually matters a lot more than we think. You can force yourself to do something for a while, but you're not going to be actually motivated to do it well and fully invest yourself. That matters a lot.
It seems like in everything that we do, the value equals effort phrase is there. If you value people, you're going to put effort into people. If you value business, you put effort in, and it all ties back to people. But the help that you asked, that you talked about, is the last verse before our last question. Is the moment in Hebrews about Jesus, the great high priest, that says, when we have a high priest, let us hold firmly to the faith. And then, later on, he's like, we don't have a high priest who is unable to empathize with us, but we can approach God's throne with grace and confidence, so we may receive mercy and grace to help us in our time of need. So it's fun to have that, but where is the help?
Yeah.
Boom, Jesus.
Yeah.
Boom, Jesus.
Boom, Jesus. I like it.
Was that your wrap up?
I know, I was going to ask you.
No, my rival's much better. No, I think the idea that we're talking about is how does knowing God's presence and knowing that God is here with us all the time change how we face things? And as we were talking about it, it made me think of a Stephen Wilson Jr. song, because there's a song called The Beginning in which he talks about how from the beginning everybody's been talking about how the end is coming. There's going to be this end and there's things after, all this stuff. And then the very end of the song, he says, but the sun comes up again. Someday we'll all look up and pray for love to change us. Find the courage to be kind. And then maybe we ain't finished. Maybe this is the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think just being able to look at God working in us and God's presence and everything, we can look and go, oh, we can be changed. We can take the next step. This is the beginning of something great, as long as we don't look way too far and go, well, that's the end.
Yeah.
We look at where we are now, and then that allows us to be present with God's presence in the moment, I think. So.
I like it.
We did it.
We did.
Hey!
See you next week.
I think so.
I don't know. I won't be here next week.
You'll be
that's
here.
right.
You'll be there. It'll be me,
I
you,
guess we're doing it.
Foreman. We'll be here.
Ty?
Ty?
Hey.
Oh, maybe.
Bye.
Bye.